It hurts. It's my first time tonight. The giant virgin bride said to the lonely cowboy, he said, I'll make it easy. It hurts. It's my first time tonight. That's what the giant virgin bride whispered to the lonely cowboy on their wedding night, and what he said back would either break her heart or heal it forever. Saskia Brennan, a giant virgin bride, standing 6 feet 3 inches, tall, had never been touched by a man, 25 years old, rejected by every suitor who said she was too big, too strong, too much woman. Tonight was her first time, and the pain she feared wasn't just physical, it was the terror of being too much even for her own husband, Calvin Rhodes, a lonely cowboy, who'd buried his first wife 3 years ago, stood before this trembling giant virgin bride, seeing the fear in her eyes. Fear that her first time tonight would hurt. Fear that she'd be awkward, wrong, too giant for gentleness. But when the giant virgin bride said, "It hurts, it's my first time tonight," the lonely cowboy didn't laugh, didn't rush. Instead, he cupped her face and said 4 words that shattered her. "I'll make it easy." But how could a lonely cowboy make it easy for a giant virgin bride who'd been told her whole life that women like her weren't made for tenderness? Could he really take away the pain of her first time tonight? And what secret was this lonely cowboy hiding? A lesson his first wife taught him that would change everything for this giant virgin bride. What happened next would prove that the greatest strength isn't power, it's patience. But first, you need to see how a lonely cowboy taught a giant virgin bride that her first time tonight didn't have to hurt. The bedroom door clicked shut behind Calvin. The sound echoed in the silence like a gunshot. Saskia stood by the window, still wearing her simple wedding dress, cream-colored cotton that strained across her broad shoulders. She'd made it herself because no dressmaker in Colorado had patterns for women her size. The fireplace crackled. The smell of pine smoke filled the small room. Outside, the Colorado night was black and endless, dotted with stars she couldn't see because her eyes were blurred with tears. Calvin stayed by the door, didn't move closer, didn't speak, just waited. He'd learned that about fear: you don't chase it, you let it come to you. "I should tell you something," Saskia said, her voice tight. She still faced the window, her back to him. Before tonight goes any further, I'm listening. I'm 25 years old, and I've never been kissed." "Not really." "Thomas McKenna tried once at a barn dance when I was 17, but he was drunk, and he told everyone the next day that kissing me was like kissing a horse." Her shoulders hunched. I don't know how to be what you need tonight." Calvin's jaw clenched. He wanted to find Thomas McKenna and break his nose. But that wouldn't help Saskia right now. "Turn around," he said softly. "Please," she hesitated. Then slowly, like a mountain turning, she faced him. Firelight painted half her face gold, left the other half in shadow. Tears tracked down her cheeks. Her hands were clasped in front of her so tightly her knuckles had gone white. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "Come here," Calvin said, opening his arms. Saskia didn't move. "You don't understand. I'm not delicate. I'm not soft. I'm not any of the things a woman is supposed to be on her wedding night. And it hurts, knowing I'm your wife now and I don't even know how to—" Her voice broke. "It's my first time tonight, Calvin. And I'm terrified." Calvin crossed the room in 3 strides. He stopped inches from her, close enough that she had to look down to meet his eyes. He was 5'11". She was 6'3". The world had taught her that difference was shame. He was about to teach her different. "Do you know why I answered your letter?" Calvin asked quietly. Saskia shook her head. "Because of what you wrote in the 3rd paragraph. You said, 'I'm too much for most men. Too tall, too strong, too direct.' I've stopped apologizing for taking up space, but I haven't stopped wanting someone to share it with." That's when I knew. "Knew what?" "That you were exactly what I needed." He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face with both hands. His palms barely covered her cheeks. "My first wife was 5'2", delicate as lace. I loved her with everything I had, and when she died, I thought that was it. I'd had my chance at love and lost it. Saskia's breath hitched. But then your letter came, and I realized I'd been wrong. I didn't want a replacement for what I lost. I wanted something new, someone strong enough to build a life with, not someone I had to protect from every hard wind. His thumbs brushed away her tears. You're not too much, Saskia. You're exactly enough. But tonight, I don't know what to do. And everyone says it hurts. That the first time always hurts for women. That you just have to endure it and... No! Calvin's voice was firm. Not with me. Not ever with me. But you're a man. You have needs. I can't ask you to... I'll make it easy, Calvin interrupted. You hear me? Whatever happens tonight happens at your pace. We stop whenever you want. And if all we do is talk until the sun comes up, that's exactly what we'll do. Saskia stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. You'd really do that? I'd do more than that. I'd wait a week, a month, a year. However long you need to trust me. He pulled her closer, wrapped his arms around her waist. She was so tall he had to tilt his head back to maintain eye contact. Here's what you don't understand yet, Saskia. This isn't about me taking something from you. It's about us learning each other. And that takes time. Something in Saskia's chest cracked open. Some walls she'd built brick by brick, rejection by rejection. Why are you being so kind? Because kindness is the only thing that matters in a marriage bed. He smiled slightly. My first wife taught me that, and I'm going to teach you. Teach me. Saskia's voice was barely a whisper. To trust. To believe your body isn't wrong. To understand that intimacy isn't something to endure, it's something to enjoy. He stepped back, took her hands in his. But first I need you to believe something. Can you do that? What? That I want you. Not despite your size, not in spite of your strength, but because of it. Because every inch of you is exactly what I need. His eyes held hers, steady and sure. You are not too much, Saskia. The world is just too small. Saskia felt something break inside her. Years of shame, of hiding, of making herself smaller. All of it cracked like ice in spring thaw. I want to believe you, she whispered. Then let me show you. Calvin led her to the bed, not to lie down, but to sit on the edge, side by side. The quilt beneath them was soft, worn. The fire popped. Shadows danced on the walls. We're going to start slow. So slow you'll think I've lost my mind, but I need you to trust the pace. Can you do that? Saskia nodded. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands trembled in his. Good, now tell me, where does it hurt? Right now, before anything else. Tell me where you're holding your fear. Saskia pressed a hand to her chest. Here, my heart feels like it's trying to break out of my body. That's fear. That's normal. Calvin placed his hand over hers, over her heart. Feel my hand? Yes, that's me promising you're safe. Right here, right now, you are completely safe with me. And for the first time in her life, Saskia believed it. Calvin kept his hand over hers, over her racing heart, and just breathed with her, in and out. Slow and steady, the fire crackled. The night pressed against the windows. And gradually, Saskia's heartbeat began to slow. Better? Calvin asked. A little. Her voice was still shaky, but the edge of panic had dulled. Good. Now I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. No shame, no embarrassment. Just truth. He waited until she nodded. What do you know about what happens between a husband and wife? Saskia's face flushed deep red. I know the basics. My mother told me before she died. And the women in town talk. They say it hurts the first time, that there's blood, that you just have to get through it and then it gets better. She swallowed hard. They made it sound like something terrible you survive, not something you want. Calvin's expression darkened. Those women did you a disservice. What do you mean? It doesn't have to hurt. Not if the man cares more about your comfort than his own gratification. He squeezed her hand gently. My first wife, Emma, she was terrified on our wedding night too. Her mother had told her the same things, that pain was inevitable, that she just had to endure. What did you do? I listened to her. She told me where she was scared, what she'd been told, what she feared, and then I made her a promise. He looked into Saskia's eyes. The same promise I'm making you now. We won't do anything that hurts. Not tonight, not ever. Because if it hurts, we're doing it wrong, Saskia blinked. But everyone says everyone is wrong. Calvin's voice was firm but gentle. Yes, there can be discomfort the first time. Your body is learning something new. But pain, real pain, that's not necessary. That's what happens when a man is selfish or ignorant or both. But how? Saskia's voice broke. How do you make it not hurt? Time, patience, making sure you're ready, really ready before anything happens. Listening when you say stop. Going slow enough that your body can adjust. He brought her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. Emma and I took 3 nights before we fully came together. 3 nights of just learning each other. And you know what? Those were the most intimate nights of my life. Tears spilled down Saskia's cheeks again. You really waited 3 nights? I would have waited 30 if she needed it. Because rushing would have hurt her, and hurting her would have destroyed something precious between us. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. So here's what I'm proposing. We take tonight, just tonight, to get comfortable with each other. No expectations, no pressure, just closeness. Can you do that? What do you mean by closeness? Lying together, holding each other, maybe kissing if you want to try, learning what feels good and what doesn't, all with our clothes on. Nothing more. He smiled softly. I know it sounds strange, but trust me, intimacy starts long before bodies come together. It starts with trust. Saskia stared at him. This lonely cowboy who'd lost his wife, who could have demanded his rights as a husband, who instead was offering her something no one ever had before: control, choice, safety. Okay, she whispered. I can try that. Calvin stood and moved to the lamp on the bedside table. Do you want the light on or off? Saskia thought about it. Darkness would hide her, but it would also hide him. And something in her wanted to see his face, wanted to watch him keep his promises. On, keep it on. Good. Calvin pulled back the quilts on the bed, revealing clean white sheets. Then he removed his boots, his vest, but left his shirt and trousers on. Your turn. Get comfortable. You can take off your shoes at least. Saskia's hands trembled as she unlaced her boots. They were men's boots, no cobbler-made women's shoes in her size. She'd always hated that. Hated every reminder that she didn't fit, but Calvin didn't seem to notice or care. He just waited patiently. When her boots were off, Calvin gestured to the bed. Lie down however feels natural to you. Saskia climbed onto the bed stiffly, awkwardly, hyper-aware of how much space she took up. She lay on her back, rigid as a board, staring at the ceiling. Calvin lay down beside her, but didn't touch her. Just lay there, close enough that she could feel his warmth, but far enough that she didn't feel trapped. Breathe, he said softly. Saskia realized she'd been holding her breath. She exhaled shakily. Good, now I'm going to touch you. Just your hand. Nothing else. Tell me if that's all right. It's all right. Calvin took her hand in his. His hand was smaller than hers, calloused from rope and leather, warm and steady. He just held it. Didn't squeeze. Didn't pull. Just held. They lay like that for long minutes. The fire crackled. The night wind whispered against the windows. Saskia's breathing gradually slowed. How does that feel? Calvin asked. Strange, but not bad. Good, now I'm going to move closer. I'm going to put my arm around you. If it feels wrong, tell me and I'll stop. Okay. Calvin shifted closer and draped his arm across her waist. He rested his head on her shoulder. They lay like that, her rigid, him relaxed. Until gradually, so gradually she almost didn't notice, her body began to soften. Your heart still racing, Calvin murmured against her shoulder. I can't help it. I know. It's okay. He drew small circles on her side with his thumb. Can I tell you something? What? My heart's racing too. Saskia turned her head to look at him. Really? Really? Because this matters to me. You matter to me. And I'm terrified of doing something that makes you afraid of me. His brown eyes met hers, vulnerable and honest. You're not the only one who's scared, Saskia. Something shifted in her chest. She'd been so consumed by her own fear that she hadn't considered his. What are you afraid of? That I'll fail you. That I'll be like those other men who made you feel wrong. That I'll hurt you despite my best intentions. He swallowed hard. I'm afraid you'll wake up tomorrow and regret choosing me. Saskia stared at him. This strong, patient gentleman was afraid, just like her. And somehow that made her feel less alone. I don't regret it, she whispered. Even scared, I don't regret you. Calvin's eyes shone with emotion. Thank you for that. They lay in silence for a while longer. Then Saskia did something that surprised them both. She turned onto her side to face him and wrapped her arms around him. She was so much bigger that he fit against her like he was made to be held by her. Is this okay? She asked hesitantly. Calvin made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. It's perfect. They held each other. And slowly the fear began to transform into something else. Not desire yet, though that was stirring beneath the surface, but something deeper. Trust, connection, the beginning of intimacy that had nothing to do with bodies and everything to do with souls. Calvin? Saskia whispered after a long while. Yes?
Can I try kissing you?
A real kiss? He pulled back just enough to see her face. You sure? No, but I want to try anyway. Then yes, but remember, you're in control. You stop whenever you want, Saskia nodded. Then, trembling but determined, she leaned down and pressed her lips to his. It was clumsy at first, awkward. Their noses bumped. She wasn't sure where to put her hands. But Calvin was patient, guiding without controlling, showing her without demanding, and then something clicked. The kiss deepened, softened, became something real. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Saskia whispered, "That wasn't like kissing a horse." Calvin laughed, a real, full laugh that filled the room with warmth. No, it definitely wasn't. Saskia smiled, actually smiled. Then she kissed him again and again, learning him, learning herself. Learning that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't too much after all. She was exactly enough. They kissed until Saskia's lips were swollen and her fear had transformed into something else entirely, something warm and curious and alive. Calvin's hands stayed respectful, one cupping her face, the other resting on her waist. But even that simple touch made her skin feel electric. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Saskia whispered, "I didn't know it could feel like that." Like what? Like I'm not too much. Like my body knows what to do, even though my mind doesn't. She touched her lips, still tingling. Like maybe I'm not broken after all. Calvin's expression went fierce. You were never broken, Saskia, never. The men who made you feel that way were the broken ones. She believed him. For the first time in her life, she actually believed she might be worth wanting. Can we? She hesitated, color rising in her cheeks. Can we try more? Not everything, just more? Calvin searched her face. You're sure? We don't have to rush. I know, but I don't want to stop, not yet. She swallowed hard. I still feel the fear, but underneath it there's something else now, something that wants to know what happens next. That's good. That's exactly how it should feel. Calvin sat up slowly, bringing her with him. But we're going to keep going slow, and I need you to promise me something. What? The second something hurts, not just feels new or strange, but actually hurts, you tell me. Immediately. Promise me, Saskia. I promise. Good. Calvin stood and held out his hand. Stand up with me. Saskia took his hand and stood, towering over him. She'd spent her whole life hunching, trying to make herself smaller, but Calvin looked at her like her height was a gift, not a curse. Your dress, Calvin said softly. It's beautiful, but it looks uncomfortable. All those buttons look like they're straining. Saskia's face burned. I made it as loose as I could, but fabric doesn't come in giant woman sizes. Then let's take it off. Not because I'm trying to rush you to nakedness, but because you should be comfortable. He turned around, presenting his back to her. I won't look. You can put on your nightgown. Take your time. Saskia stared at his back, at the trust implicit in the gesture. Her fingers fumbled with the buttons running down the front of her dress. They'd been difficult to do up that morning with